Captain Zelek of the starship Cosmic Regret stood in his poorly lit command center, adjusting his cracked captain's hat for the third time in 5 minutes. The hat had been glorious once, back when he actually knew what he was doing. Now it mostly served to hide the growing bald spot that his crew pretended not to notice. "All right, you magnificent disasters," he announced to his 3-person crew, who were currently arguing over whether the blinking red light on the console meant they were about to explode or just needed to change the air freshener. "Today we make our fortune. Today we prove that Captain Zelek and his elite crew are forces to be reckoned with in this galaxy." Lieutenant Grax, whose idea of intimidation involved flexing his surprisingly small biceps, looked up from the weapons console. "Are we finally going to rob that luxury cruise ship, Captain?" "No, Grax. We tried that last month, remember? You threw up on the passenger deck because of motion sickness." "That was tactical vomiting, sir." "It was not tactical, Grax. It was projectile." Navigator Blurp, a nervous creature who looked like someone had crossed an octopus with a tax accountant, tentatively raised one of his many hands. Captain, are we going to discuss the fact that our ransom demands keep getting returned to sender?" Zelok waved dismissively. "Details, Blurt. Minor setbacks. Today we're thinking bigger. Today we're kidnapping a human." The bridge fell silent, except for the concerning grinding noise their engine had been making since they'd tried to use cooking oil as a substitute for proper fuel. "A human, sir," squeaked Blurp. "But humans are supposed to be incredibly dangerous. They're the species that somehow convince the entire galaxy they're reasonable while simultaneously being the only race that considers hold my beer a valid military strategy." "Exactly," Zelek grinned, revealing teeth that had seen better days. "Which is why they'll pay anything to get one back. We grab some random human, demand a modest ransom of say 50 million credits, and retire to a nice planet where the gravity doesn't make my knees creak." Engineer Splurt, who had been quietly welding something that was definitely not supposed to be welded, looked up with concern. "Captain, are you sure about this? Last time we tried to kidnap someone, we accidentally grabbed that diplomat's pet and ended up having to pay them to take it back." "That was different, Splurt. That creature bit through our hull. This is just a human. How dangerous could one human possibly be?" 2 hours later, they had their answer. The human they'd grabbed from the mining station was currently sitting in their cargo bay, looking around with what could only be described as professional interest. He was a middle-aged man with the kind of face that suggested he'd spent years in meetings that could have been emails, and he wore a name tag that read Dave Martinez, efficiency consultant. "So," Dave said cheerfully, "this is quite the operation you've got here. I have to say your abduction technique needs work, but the enthusiasm is definitely there. Mind if I ask about your organizational structure?" Zelek stared at him. In 30 years of questionable career choices, he'd never encountered a hostage who wanted to discuss organizational structure. "You're supposed to be terrified," he said weakly. "Oh, I am," Dave assured him. "Terrified of what this is doing to your overhead costs. Do you realize you're running a 4-person crew on a ship that's clearly designed for 12? The efficiency losses alone must be killing your profit margins." And that was how Captain Zelok began to suspect that maybe, just maybe, he'd made a terrible mistake. Lieutenant Grax cracked his knuckles in what he hoped was a menacing fashion, though it sounded more like someone stepping on bubble wrap. He'd been preparing for this moment his entire career. Finally, a chance to prove his worth as the crew's designated intimidator. "All right, human," he growled, circling Dave like a predator, a very confused predator who kept bumping into things. "You're going to tell us everything we need to know about human military capabilities, or things are going to get very unpleasant for you." Dave looked up from the notepad he'd somehow acquired and was currently scribbling on. "Oh, that's good. Very threatening. But can I make a suggestion? Try lowering your voice about an octave. Right now you sound like you're asking me to pass the salt, not confess state secrets." Grax blinked. "What?" "The intimidation thing. You're going for scary, right? But your vocal inflection is all wrong. Here, watch." Dave cleared his throat and repeated Grax's words in a deeper, more menacing tone. "See? Much better. Also, the circling is nice, but you're going clockwise. Counterclockwise is more psychologically unsettling. Something about how most brains process spatial relationships. But you're supposed to be." Grax looked helplessly at Captain Zelek, who was watching this exchange with the expression of someone who'd just realized he'd brought a spoon to a gunfight. "Oh, I'm definitely intimidated," Dave assured him. "But I'm also a consultant. I can't help myself. It's like a reflex. I see inefficiency, I fix it. And honestly, your whole interrogation setup here has potential, but it needs work." Dave stood up and gestured around the cargo bay. "First off, the lighting. You want dramatic shadows, not this fluorescent office situation. Makes you look like you're about to ask me to fill out a tax form, not reveal classified information. Second, you need some kind of ominous background noise. The gentle humming of your life support system isn't exactly striking fear into anyone's heart. Grax found himself nodding along. What about the restraints? Are these okay? Oh, the restraints are great. Really good quality. Where did you get them? My cousin Blorgeth runs a surplus shop on Kepler 7. He gave us a bulk discount. Smart, always negotiate for bulk pricing. But here's the thing about interrogation. Dave leaned in conspiratorially. Most people want to talk. They just need the right encouragement. You're going about this all wrong. I am? Absolutely. You're trying to scare information out of me, but fear makes people clam up. You want to make them comfortable, get them talking, then slip in your real questions when their guard is down. Watch this. Dave turned to Captain Zellick. Captain, can I just say, I'm really impressed with your ship here. The engine efficiency is remarkable given the obvious budget constraints you're working with. How long have you been in the redistribution business? Zellick found himself answering before he could stop himself. About 15 years, ever since the Galactic Commerce Guild rejected my application for a legitimate trading license. They said I was incompetent and a danger to interstellar commerce. But I showed them, didn't I? I built my own operation, from the ground up. That's incredible. The determination alone is inspiring, and your crew loyalty must be off the charts. I bet they'd follow you anywhere. Well, they don't really have a choice, since I'm the only one who knows how to operate the navigation computer, but yes, we're very close. Dave scribbled something on his notepad. See, he said to Grax, he just told me about their staffing vulnerabilities and operational dependencies, all because I asked nicely and showed genuine interest. Grax was taking notes. So you're saying I should compliment them first? Exactly. People love talking about themselves. Get them comfortable, build rapport, then ask your real questions. It's basic psychology. This is brilliant, Grax said, then caught himself. I mean, You're still my prisoner. Of course I am. But that doesn't mean we can't make this a learning experience for everyone involved. Now, about your ship's defensive capabilities. I'm curious, how do you typically handle pursuit by law enforcement? And before anyone realized what was happening, Captain Zellick was explaining their standard evasion protocols in detail, while Grax took notes, and Dave nodded encouragingly like a teacher whose student had just grasped a particularly difficult concept. Navigator Blurp, who had been watching this entire exchange from the doorway, slowly backed away. Something told him that their simple kidnapping operation had just become significantly more complicated. By the third day of Dave's captivity, the cosmic regret was running better than it had in years. This was not something Captain Zaylock had expected when he'd decided to become a kidnapper. But then again, very little about this situation was going according to plan. Dave, he said weakly, watching his hostage reorganize their supply closet with the efficiency of someone who'd clearly done this before. You do realize you're supposed to be our prisoner, right? Dave looked up from the inventory spreadsheet he'd created on his tablet. Oh, absolutely. But that doesn't mean I can't help optimize your operations while I'm here. Do you know you've been storing your emergency rations next to your cleaning supplies? The chemical fumes have been degrading the packaging for months. You're probably losing 30% of your food stores to contamination. We've been wondering why everything tastes like soap, admitted Splurt, who was watching Dave work with the fascination of someone discovering fire. Easy fix, Dave said cheerfully. I've reorganized everything by category and expiration date. Also, I took the liberty of setting up a rotation system so you use the oldest supplies first. Should cut your waste by at least 40%. Zellick felt a headache coming on. But why would you help us? We kidnapped you. Well, first of all, you're not very good at it, Dave said without looking up from his clipboard. I've been held captive for 3 days, and I've had access to your ship's computer, your communication systems, and your entire operational database. If I wanted to escape or call for help, I would have done it already. You had access to our computers? Your password was password 123, Captain. I'm honestly amazed you haven't been hacked by space pirates. Oh wait, you are space pirates. We prefer freelance acquisition specialists, Grax interjected, then caught himself. I mean, we're fearsome criminals. You should be afraid of us. Grax, buddy, Dave said gently. We talked about this. The tough guy act works better when you're not holding a juice box. Grax looked down at the fruit punch he'd been sipping. It's tactical hydration. It's a juice box with a cartoon spaceship on it. Navigator Blurp, who had been quietly observing from his workstation, finally spoke up. Dave, can I ask you something? Of course, Blurp, what's on your mind? Are you really just an efficiency consultant? Because you seem to know an awful lot about, well, everything. Dave smiled. 30 years in corporate consulting teaches you to adapt quickly. I've optimized everything from sandwich shops to starship manufacturing plants. The principles are the same everywhere. Identify inefficiencies, implement solutions, maximize output while minimizing waste. And you're applying these principles to our piracy operation. I'm applying them to your business model, yes. The fact that your business model involves kidnapping is just flavor text. Blurp was quiet for a moment. You know, Dave, I've been thinking. This is the first time in years that someone has actually listened to my suggestions about navigation routes. Usually Captain Zellock just tells me to fly toward the shiny things and hope for the best. Your navigation suggestions are excellent, Blurp. That shortcut through the Andromeda Nebula alone will save you 3 days of travel time and reduce fuel consumption by 20%. I don't know why the captain hasn't been implementing your recommendations. Because, Zellock said defensively, I'm the captain. I make the decisions around here. Of course you do, Dave said soothingly. But a good captain surrounds himself with competent advisors and actually listens to them. Your crew has been trying to help you succeed, but you've been too focused on maintaining authority to notice. I have not. Captain, Splurt interrupted quietly, Dave fixed our engine efficiency problem in 20 minutes. That thing we've been dealing with for 6 months? He just rerouted the power coupling and optimized the fuel mixture. We're running at 150% normal capacity now. And he reorganized our meal schedule, added Grax. I actually got to eat something other than stale ration bars for lunch today. Plus, Blurp chimed in, he's been teaching me about advanced navigation techniques. Did you know we've been flying the most inefficient routes possible? We could have cut our travel time in half if we'd just plotted better courses. Zellock looked around at his crew, who were all nodding enthusiastically. For the first time in 15 years, they seemed genuinely happy. But he's our hostage, he said weakly. I know, Dave said gently, and I'm perfectly happy to keep being your hostage. But that doesn't mean we can't make this a positive experience for everyone involved. Now, about that ransom call you need to make. I've been thinking about your approach, and I have some suggestions that might help you get better results. And despite every instinct screaming at him that this was wrong, Captain Zellock found himself leaning forward to listen. Captain Zellock adjusted his cracked hat for the 7th time in 10 minutes, staring at the communication console like it might explode, which, given the state of their equipment, wasn't entirely impossible. All right, you incompetent disasters, he announced to his crew, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. Today we make our ransom demand. Today we prove that Captain Zellock is a force to be reckoned with in this galaxy. Actually, Captain, Dave said helpfully from his position at what had formerly been the weapons console but was now serving as his makeshift office. I've been reviewing your previous ransom attempts, and I think I've identified some areas for improvement. You reviewed our previous ransom attempts? Your filing system is fascinating. I found records going back 12 years, all in a box labeled angry letters from people we probably shouldn't have annoyed. Very thorough documentation, by the way. Most criminal enterprises don't keep such detailed records of their failures. Lieutenant Grax, who was practicing his intimidating stance in the corner, looked up hopefully. Did you find anything useful? Oh, absolutely. For instance, Captain, did you know that in your last 14 ransom calls you've accidentally called the wrong numbers 8 times? Including that memorable conversation with the Galactic Pizza Delivery Service where you demanded 50,000 credits for the safe return of someone named Johnson, and they offered you a discount on large pepperoni. Zellock's face turned an interesting shade of purple. That was a tactical misdirection? It was a wrong number, Captain. But don't worry, I've prepared a script for you. Dave held up a neatly typed document. I've included conversation flow charts, key talking points, and even some psychological pressure techniques that should improve your success rate. You want to help us ransom you? I want to help you communicate more effectively, whether that's for ransom demands, customer service calls, or ordering takeout. The principles are the same. Be clear, be confident, and always remember that the person on the other end of the line is just trying to do their job. Blurp tentatively raised one of his many hands. Dave, should we be concerned that you're helping us commit crimes? Blurp, buddy, we've been through this. I'm a hostage. You're pirates. This is just professional development within the context of our current working relationship. Working relationship? Poor choice of words. Hostage-captor relationship. The point is, we're all here together, so we might as well make the best of it. Engineer Splurt, who had been quietly making the communication equipment actually work for the first time in months, looked up from his repairs. The system's ready, Captain. And thanks to Dave's troubleshooting guide, we should actually be able to maintain a stable connection for more than 30 seconds. Excellent, Dave said, clapping his hands together. Now, Captain, remember what we practiced. Project confidence, but not aggression. You want to sound professional, not unhinged. And please, for the love of all that's holy, don't mention the thing about your hat. What's wrong with my hat? Nothing. It's a perfectly fine hat, but last time you spent 10 minutes explaining its historical significance to a hostage negotiator, and it really undermined your credibility. Zelek grumbled, but took his position at the communication console. Fine, but I'm doing this my way. Of course you are. Your way, just with better execution. Grax, you're on backup intimidation. Blurp, monitor their response patterns. Splurt, keep that connection stable. And remember, everyone, this is a business transaction. Professional courtesy goes a long way. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Commander Sarah Williams of Earth Defense Command. She looked like someone who'd spent years dealing with exactly this kind of situation, and had long since run out of patience for it. This is Commander Williams. I understand you have one of our people. Yes, Zelek boomed, then caught Dave's encouraging nod and lowered his voice. Yes, Commander. We have successfully acquired one of your human personnel, and we're prepared to discuss terms for his return. Successfully acquired, Dave whispered approvingly. Much better than kidnapped. I see, Commander Williams said dryly. And what exactly are your terms? Zelek consulted Dave's script. We're requesting a modest compensation of 50 million credits for the safe return of your citizen. This is a limited-time offer, and we believe it represents excellent value given the circumstances. Excellent value, Grax repeated admiringly. Dave, you're a genius. Shh, Dave hissed. You're supposed to be menacing backup, not a cheerleader. Commander Williams raised an eyebrow. I'm sorry, did someone just call this excellent value? And who exactly are you holding? We have acquired one Dave Martinez, efficiency consultant, Zelok read from his script. He's currently in our custody and remains unharmed. Dave Martinez? The guy from the mining station? The very same. He's been... Wait, you know him? Know him. He reorganized our entire logistics department last year, saved us about 3 million credits in operational costs. Commander Williams looked genuinely puzzled. Why would you kidnap Dave? He's not exactly high-value personnel. Dave, who had been listening with growing interest, leaned over to the communication console. Hi, Sarah. How's the new filing system working out? Dave, is that you? What are you doing with these people? Oh, I'm being held hostage. It's actually been quite educational. Did you know that most piracy operations are running at about 15% efficiency? The waste is staggering. Are you consulting for your own kidnappers? Just offering some friendly advice. Professional development, you know. Although I have to say, they're really not very good at this. Hey, Grax protested. We're fearsome criminals. Grax, we talked about this. You're holding a juice box again. Commander Williams stared at the screen for a long moment. I'm sorry, let me get this straight. You kidnapped Dave Martinez, and now he's helping you? It's more of a collaborative relationship, Dave explained. They provide the hostage situation, I provide operational optimization. Win-win. And you want 50 million credits for him? Actually, Dave said thoughtfully, that does seem a bit high. I'm good at what I do, but I'm not exactly irreplaceable. Maybe start with 5 million and see how they respond? Dive, Zelek hissed. You're supposed to be on our side. I am on your side. I'm trying to help you set realistic expectations. 50 million is whale money. I'm more like decent-sized fish money. Commander Williams looked like she was developing a migraine. Dave, are you negotiating your own ransom? I'm facilitating a mutually beneficial business transaction. There's a difference. No, there isn't. Look, Sarah, these are good people. A little misguided, maybe, but they're not criminals. They're just entrepreneurially challenged. With the right guidance, they could be running a legitimate operation. Dave, they kidnapped you. And they've been very polite about it. Captain Zelok even gave me his cabin. When was the last time you got that kind of customer service from a kidnapper? This is insane. You know what? Fine. I'll authorize 5 million credits for Dave's return. But only because I know he's probably improved their ship's efficiency by 300%, and I don't want them becoming competent criminals. Thank you, Commander, Zelyak said, though he sounded more confused than grateful. We'll be in touch with transfer details. Wait, Dave said suddenly. Sarah, before you go, can you tell them about that time I reorganized the cafeteria? I think it might help my case here. The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Well, Dave said cheerfully, that went better than expected. 5 million credits is nothing to sneeze at, and you maintained professional dignity throughout. I'm proud of you all. Did we just get talked down from our own ransom demand? Blurp asked quietly. You got a realistic market assessment, Dave corrected. And you avoided the embarrassment of an unrealistic opening offer. Trust me, this is much better for your reputation. Captain Zellick stared at the blank screen, then at Dave, then at his crew, all of whom were nodding approvingly. I think, he said slowly, we may have made a terrible mistake. Nonsense, Dave said warmly. You're learning. That's what matters. Now, about that money transfer. I've got some ideas about how to set up a more efficient payment system. The next morning, Captain Yellick sat in his cabin staring at a cup of coffee that actually tasted like coffee instead of the usual mixture of engine coolant and despair. This was a problem. A big problem. Splurt, he called into his communicator. Could you come to my cabin? We need to talk. Engineer Splurt appeared within minutes, looking happier than Zellick had seen him in years. What's up, Captain? If this is about the coffee, Dave showed me how to properly calibrate the brewing system. Turns out we were running it at the wrong temperature for about 6 years. That's exactly what I want to talk about. Splurt, how long have we been friends? About 12 years, Captain, ever since you rescued me from that prison transport. And in those 12 years, have I ever asked you to do something you thought was wrong? Splurt shifted uncomfortably. Well, there was that time you wanted me to rig the escape pods to explode if anyone tried to leave the ship. That was for morale. Captain, I think we need to have a serious conversation about leadership styles. That's not the point. Zellick stood up, pacing his small cabin. The point is, we've been pirates for 15 years, criminals, outlaws, and in 3 days this human has completely undermined everything we've built. You mean he's made it functional? Yes. No, I mean, Zellick rubbed his temples. Splurt, don't you see what's happening? He's manipulating us. He's making us like him so we'll let our guard down. Is that what he's doing? Splurt asked thoughtfully. Because honestly, Captain, I thought he was just being nice. Nobody's just nice, Splurt, especially not hostages. There's always an angle, always a plan. He's probably working with Earth Defense Command right now, gathering intelligence about our operations. Our operations that he's been helping us improve? Our operations that he's been... Wait, that's not the point either. Zellick was getting flustered. The point is, he's dangerous. He's making us soft, making us forget who we are. Who are we, Captain? The question hung in the air like a bad smell. Zellick opened his mouth to answer, then closed it again. We're pirates, he said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. Are we good pirates? Well, no, but... Do we enjoy being pirates? Not particularly, but... Then why are we still pirates? Before Zellick could answer, the cabin door chimed. Come in, he called, grateful for the interruption. Dave entered, carrying a tablet and looking pleased with himself. Captain, I've been running some numbers, and I think I've found a solution to your long-term career sustainability problem. I don't have a career sustainability problem. Captain, you've been operating at a net loss for 8 of the last 10 years. Your overhead costs are astronomical, your success rate is abysmal, and your crew satisfaction surveys... We don't have crew satisfaction surveys. We do now. I distributed them yesterday. The results were... illuminating. Dave consulted his tablet. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I hate my job and 10 being I love my job, the average response was 2.3. That seems low, Splurt admitted. It is low, but here's the interesting part. In the 3 days since I've been here, I've been conducting informal follow-up interviews, and the average has jumped to 7.8. That's impossible. It's not impossible, it's just good management. Your crew doesn't hate their jobs, Captain. They hate being bad at their jobs. Give them the tools and support they need to succeed, and they'll amaze you. Zellick felt his carefully constructed worldview beginning to crumble. But we're criminals. You're entrepreneurs with a flexible relationship to galactic law, Dave corrected. There's a difference, and honestly, you're not even very good criminals. Your last successful heist was what, 2 years ago? 18 months, Splurt said quietly. 18 months, and what did you get from it? A cargo hold full of expired medical supplies, Zellick admitted. which you then gave away to that refugee camp because you felt bad about stealing medicine. Every man needed it. Exactly. You're not criminals, Captain. You're just people who've convinced themselves they have to be criminals because you don't know what else to do. The cabin door chimed again, and this time Grax and Blurp entered without waiting for permission. Captain, Grax said urgently, we need to talk. If this is about the coffee... It's not about the coffee, Blurb interrupted. It's about Dave. Zellick straightened up. Finally, someone else sees what's happening here. Yeah, Grax continued. We've been talking and we think we should let him go. What? Why? Because we like him, Blurp said simply. And keeping someone prisoner who's been nothing but helpful to us feels wrong. Since when do we care about right and wrong? Since always, Splurt said quietly. We've just been pretending we don't. Zellick looked around at his crew, all of whom were nodding in agreement. This is mutiny. No, Dave said gently. This is growth. Your crew is developing ethical standards. That's actually a good sign for your long-term psychological health. I don't want psychological health. I want to be a successful pirate. Captain, Grax said, when was the last time you were actually happy? The question hit Zellick like a physical blow. He opened his mouth to answer, then realized he couldn't remember. I was happy when I thought we were going to get that ransom money, he said weakly. Were you? Dave asked. Or were you just relieved that you might not have to worry about money for a while? What's the difference? The difference is that relief from fear isn't the same as genuine happiness. You've been running from failure for so long that you've forgotten what success actually feels like. This is ridiculous, Zellock said, but his voice was barely above a whisper. We're pirates. We kidnapped you. We're supposed to be enemies. Why? Dave asked simply. Because that's how it works? Says who? Says everyone. Says the galaxy. Says the natural order of things. Captain, Blurp said gently. The natural order of things is that people help each other. This whole piracy thing was never natural for us. We're not built for it. Then what are we built for? Dave smiled. That's the beautiful thing about being alive, Captain. You get to figure that out. Zellick sank into his chair, feeling exhausted. So, what now? We let you go and we all become legitimate business people? We could, Dave said thoughtfully, or we could try something else entirely. I've been looking at your ship specs, and the Cosmic Regret would make an excellent salvage and rescue vessel. You've got the equipment, you've got the skills, and you've got the crew loyalty. All you need is a business plan. A business plan? Think about it. The galaxy is full of ships that break down, cargo that needs to be recovered, and people who need help. Instead of taking things from people, you could be helping them get their things back. Same skill set, better karma. That's actually not a terrible idea, Splurt said slowly. It's a great idea, Grax added. I've always wanted to be a hero instead of a villain. You were never a villain, Dave said warmly. You were just confused about your career path. Zellick looked around at his crew, all of whom were looking at him with something he hadn't seen in years. Hope. This is insane, he said finally. Most of the best ideas are, Dave replied. The question is, are you brave enough to try something new? And despite every instinct screaming at him that this was crazy, Captain Zellick found himself nodding. But, he said, holding up a finger, we're keeping the ship name. I've grown attached to it. The Cosmic Regret? It has character. Dave grinned. Captain, I think that's the best decision you've made in years. 3 months later, Dave Martinez sat in what had once been the cargo bay of the Cosmic Regret and was now the corporate headquarters of Regret, Salvage and Rescue Services, reviewing quarterly reports that would have made his old consulting firm weep with envy. Dave, Captain Zelot called from the bridge, his voice crackling through the newly installed intercom system that actually worked. We've got incoming. Looks like Earth Defense Command. Already? They're early. Dave checked his watch and smiled. Must be eager to see the operation. Remember, everyone, this is just a routine check-in. We're legitimate business people now. Legitimate business people who used to be pirates, Blurt pointed out from his position at the navigation console, which now featured 3 computer monitors and a motivational poster that read, Excellence is not a destination, it's a journey. Reformed pirates, Dave corrected. There's a difference, and our success rate speaks for itself. He wasn't wrong. In 3 months, Regret Salvage and Rescue had completed 47 missions with a 100% success rate. They'd rescued stranded ships, recovered lost cargo, and even helped evacuate a mining station during a reactor malfunction. The same crew that couldn't successfully kidnap a middle manager had somehow become the most efficient rescue operation in 3-star systems. "Dave?" Grax called from the engine room, where he was conducting what he now called therapeutic maintenance on their equipment. "Should I hide the weapons?" "We don't have weapons anymore, Grax. We have rescue equipment." "Right, but some of the rescue equipment used to be weapons." "As long as it's being used for rescue purposes, we're fine. The plasma cutter is excellent for emergency hull breaches, and the tractor beam is perfect for cargo recovery. Context is everything." The view screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Sarah Williams, who looked significantly less stressed than she had during their last conversation. "Dave, permission to come aboard?" "Of course, Sarah. We're always happy to see Earth Defense Command. Captain Zelok, you want to do the honors?" Zelok, who was now wearing a clean uniform and a hat that didn't have any cracks in it, straightened up with obvious pride. "Commander Williams, welcome aboard the Cosmic Regret. Please, come aboard at your convenience." "Thank you, Captain. I have to say, your reputation has improved considerably since our last meeting." "We've been working very hard to rebrand ourselves," Zelok replied, using the corporate terminology Dave had taught him. "Customer satisfaction is our top priority." 20 minutes later, Commander Williams was sitting in the newly established conference room, which had been converted from what was once the torture chamber. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, though nobody mentioned it. "Dave," she said, looking around at the professional charts and mission reports covering the walls, "I have to ask, how did you do it?" "Do what?" "Turn a crew of incompetent pirates into the most requested rescue service in the sector. I've got reports here that make you sound like some kind of miracle worker." Dave shrugged. "I just helped them figure out what they were already good at. They were never really criminals, Sarah. They were just people who didn't know how to channel their skills productively." "Their skills?" "Absolutely. Zelok is actually an excellent leader when he's not paralyzed by fear of failure. Grax has incredible mechanical intuition. He can fix anything with nothing but spare parts and determination. Blurp is probably the best navigator I've ever worked with. And Splurp can make any piece of equipment work regardless of what it was originally designed for." "And you figured this out while they were holding you hostage?" "I figured it out because they were holding me hostage. Strip away the criminal pretensions and the desperation, and you've got a crew that genuinely cares about each other and wants to help people. They just needed someone to show them how." Commander Williams shook her head. "Dave, I've been in law enforcement for 20 years and I've never seen anything like this. Usually when we deal with criminal rehabilitation, it takes years of therapy and supervised integration. You did it in 3 days." "I didn't rehabilitate them. I just helped them remember who they really were." "Speaking of which," she said, pulling out a tablet, "I have some interesting news. The Galactic Commerce Guild has been reviewing your operation, and they want to offer you an exclusive contract for emergency salvage operations in the Outer Rim." "That's fantastic news," Dave said, genuinely pleased. "What kind of terms are we talking about?" 5-year contract, guaranteed minimum revenue of 10 million credits annually, plus performance bonuses. They're also offering to upgrade your ship and provide you with additional crew if needed." "Additional crew?" Zalok's voice came through the intercom. "Are you listening to our private conversation, Captain?" "It's my ship. I can listen to whatever I want on my ship." "Actually," Dave said diplomatically, "it's good that you're monitoring communications. This affects the whole team. Commander Williams, would you mind if the rest of the crew joined us? They should be part of this decision." "Of course." A few minutes later, all 5 members of the crew were crowded into the conference room, looking nervous but excited. "So," Dave said, looking around at his former captors, "what do you think? Are we ready for the big leagues?" "We're really going to be official?" Splurt asked, his voice full of wonder. "You're already official," Commander Williams said. "You're licensed, bonded, and insured. Your safety ratings are higher than most established salvage operations. The Guild isn't offering you this contract as a favor. They're offering it because you're the best at what you do." "I still can't believe this is real," Blurk said quietly. 6 months ago, we were failed criminals. Now we're successful business people." "You were never failed criminals," Dave corrected. "You were just people who had convinced themselves they had to be criminals because they didn't see any other options. All I did was help you see that there were other options." "Dave," Grax said, "I have to ask, are you happy? I mean, really happy? Because this whole thing started with us kidnapping you, and now you're basically running our company." Dave was quiet for a moment, considering the question. "You know what, Grax? I am happy. Happier than I've been in years. My old job was about fixing problems that didn't need to exist in the first place. This is about helping people and making a real difference in the galaxy. Plus, I get to work with the most interesting crew I've ever met. Even though we kidnapped you? Especially because you kidnapped me. If you hadn't, I'd still be stuck in some corporate office, optimizing quarterly reports for people who don't care about anything except profit margins. Instead, I'm out here, actually helping people. It's the best career change I've ever made. Does this mean you're staying? Zelek asked hopefully. Captain, I wouldn't leave this crew for anything. We're just getting started. Commander Williams stood up, smiling. Well, I think my work here is done. Dave, the Guild wants an answer within the week, but I think we all know what it's going to be. Actually, Dave said, I'd like to make a counter-proposal. A counter-proposal? The Guild wants to hire us for salvage operations in the Outer Rim, but I think we can do better than that. I think we can franchise this operation, train other crews, establish a network of rescue services throughout the galaxy. The Cosmic Regret model. Small crews, high efficiency, genuine care for the people we're helping. You want to franchise a rescue service? I want to change how rescue services work. Right now, most of them are corporate operations focused on profit margins. We're focused on actually helping people. I think there's room in the galaxy for both approaches, but I think our approach is more sustainable long-term. Commander Williams stared at him for a long moment, then started laughing. Dave, you're insane, you know that, right? I've been told that before. And you think the Guild will go for it? I think the Guild will love it. We're talking about expanding their reach, improving their service quality, and potentially doubling their revenue streams. From a business perspective, it's a no-brainer. And from a personal perspective? Dave looked around at his crew, all of whom were nodding enthusiastically. From a personal perspective, it means we get to keep doing what we love while helping other people discover what they love. It's win-win. Dave, Zelek said quietly, I have to ask. When you were sitting in that cargo bay 3 months ago, did you plan any of this? Plan it? No. But I hoped for it. I hoped that underneath all the criminal posturing, you were decent people who just needed a chance to prove it to yourselves. And we did? You exceeded every expectation I had. You've built something amazing here, Captain. All of you have. We built it together, Grack said firmly. Dave, you're part of this crew now, officially, if you want to be. I can't think of anything I'd rather be, Dave said, and meant it. Commander Williams gathered her things, still shaking her head. Dave, I don't know how you do it, but I'm glad you do. The galaxy needs more people like you. The galaxy needs more people like them, Dave corrected, gesturing to his crew. I just helped them remember that they were good people all along. As the commander departed, Dave looked around at his former captors and current business partners. So, he said, ready to change the galaxy? With you leading the way, Zelek grinned. Dave, we'd follow you anywhere. Good, Dave said, pulling out his tablet and opening a new document. Because I've got some ideas about expanding into asteroid mining rescue operations, and I think you're going to love them. And as the Cosmic Regret headed toward its next mission, its crew was already planning the next phase of their improbable journey, from failed pirates to galactic heroes. It had all started with a kidnapping, but it was ending with something much more valuable, a family.